Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to another awesome Blender tutorial. You know what? I'm tired of saying what's up because every YouTube tutorial that you watch, guess what they say when hey, what's up? My name's Kevin and hey, what's up? This is Mark from cgbd.com and we're actually alright, so I'm gonna say hello. Alright. Hi guys, this is Ryan from Active TV, the movie show, and we are going to show you an incredible, awesome Blender tutorial today. So I'm just going to jump straight in. My aim is to make this tutorial within 15 minutes. So what are we going to be doing today? I know I called this tutorial Advanced Rigid Body Training, and that's because if you checked out our previous tutorial, we did rigid bodies already, right? That's what you're going to tell me. But right, we already did rigid bodies, right? Okay, I did more intensive training, research. Yes, intensive research on the rigid bodies, and I came across a guy, and he is awesome. And I spoke about him last week. His tutorials are extremely they are seriously really great. So right now you see exactly what we look at. By the way, if you haven't checked, we did a movie show on this guy here, David Sheff and Nick Sheff, on the movie show. Go check out our podcast because yeah. All right, here we go. It's this Para 8D. All right, go check out this guy's channel, subscribe and like this guy's videos. He's very good, very cool, very detailed, very awesome. So I'm gonna give you a shortcut to a 40-minute video that I watched of his. Very awesome, and I'm just gonna show you a little bit more about rigid bodies. We're gonna do this very quickly because I'm sure that there's something specific that you're looking for. All right, so first of all, I just want to give us something to mess around with here. Okay, just a simple cube here and a simple floor. So first of all, if you didn't check my last tutorial, instead of me having to go in here or go back here and then adding the dynamics, or you can even go here, rigid body, and you can add all your stuff, you can actually create a shortcut. And what the shortcut does is that all I need to do is press Q. Okay, and by the way, you can add a whole lot of quick favorites there. So in your menu, you can right click on it and you can say add to quick favorites. So that's what I basically did with this guy over here. All right, Q, and it adds into your quick favorites. So what's nice is I can click here, I can press Q, rigid body, I can say that that's going to be an active. I can select this guy, press Q, say add passive. I learned that from that Para 8D. Very awesome, thanks man. Moving right along, so I've added rigid body, so when I press play, there's an interaction. Look how quick that was. Okay, very awesome. So just a few details that I'd really love to go through. I'm going to try my best to demonstrate them, to show you instead of just tell you what they do. I'm going to try my best. I'm not going to get it right on all of them. So very quick, the first thing is that very quickly, when you add a rigid body, if I go into my scene settings, you want to check out my tutorial, I'll go through all of these tabs. Blender started tutorial. Again, yes, I'm self-promoting myself, so what? All right, when you add a rigid body, it's going to add this guy over here, and you can see that there's a collection. What happens is every item within your scene gets added to that collection, to your rigid body collections, which means that you have a few extra settings here that affects the entire scene, not just the object itself. And that is under that is this guy here, speed. And what this does is that the physics reacts according to the speed over here. And what's nice is that if you have something that is falling, now obviously right now this thing's only playing at 8 frames per second, but if you want your animation to be a bit slower, that's where you can adjust it. All right, because then it almost gives that bullet time type of feel. See there, a lot slower. But obviously, like I said, when I've cashied, or I can even keyframe this, which I'll show you a bit later on, then that's pretty cool. The other thing is this guy over here, which is steps per second. This is a very cool, something that's very awesome as well. So the best way for me to explain this is that if I've got another cube over here, all right, and this is exactly the way that he explained it. If I've got this cube over here and this cube collides with this guy, right? But let's say I keyframe it that in 2 keyframes, it interacts with this and it fractures this, right? So let's say at keyframe at keyframe 1, the block is here. At keyframe 2, it's already interacted with the cube already. The problem is that the physics simulation at keyframe 1, it's there. At keyframe 2, it's going to react according to where the cube is already within the other cube, which it's reacted with. So these steps per second per frame, what it does is it adds in between frames. And what that basically does is then it adds basically its own sort of, it adds its own it adds in more calculations. It sort of adds in between frames, right? So if I've got 10 steps per frame, what that will then do is that between frame 1 and frame 2, there will be these 10 extra frames. So which means that the physics calculation will get that part right over there. All right. The faster your object is moving, the more frames per second you want to add. And you might say to me, but Ryan, really, dude, that does not affect my life. Well, e.g., like I said, if I have something falling to a frame, to a platform like this, let's say you got a whole bunch of balls that are falling, and let's say at frame 1 over there, all right, and now obviously physics is going to kick into this frame, and if the frame before, let me just show this properly, if the frame before, let's say I'm doing this within 10 frames, right, if the frame before is your object is over there, and the next frame after that, because of the speed that's falling, is under the ground, your cube's going to fall right through. So your solution to that is just to add more frames per the step, and you'll see that it will actually catch it. All right, thank you very much for that. So the next thing is this guy over here, which is split impulse. And what that helps with is that if you've got, let's say I've got multiple cubes all together. In fact, if I've got objects so close to each other, at the starting point, what's going to happen is that because of the actual physics of the rigid body, those cubes are just going to explode from each other because of how close they are to each other. What do I mean by that? Well, right, let me give you a very good example. Let's see if it does it, right? So let me duplicate this guy. I'm going to literally put them so close to each other, and I'm going to see if the physics kicks in. So I'm going to put them really close to each other, like so close, like close to their neighbors. All right, here we go. Okay, it's not doing it, most probably because of my settings and stuff, but you will find that there are times that, hang on, I think what's going to happen, grab X, I'm just going to move this guy around to see. If you find that, put this back to 1. If you find that your objects are instantly exploding, you want to check that split impulse. And what it will do is it basically clamps the acceleration of those objects repelling each other. Right. The next one is your cache. So you will see here in my timeline, as I press play, it's going to cache for you. So what that basically does is, right now it's doing some calculation work when you first press play with your new object. So what Blender does to save you the hassle from every time you having like a really slow, or you can see it's playing back a lot faster now, it caches what it has, what it's basically simulated. All right, and you will find that under your scene, under this whole rigid body here, you can bake that simulation, right? So I can press bake. It doesn't take very long. And you will find it gets done. So obviously with the cache, I can set my start and my end time. It also tells you how many frames are cached already, so it's already done, by the way. It doesn't start playing back. It's cached for you, which means that look at my frames per second have improved already. Whenever you add something new to the scene, you'll see. So if, let's say, all right, here we go, duplicate, I'm going to move this guy over here. It's not doing anything, right? And that's because you've baked your simulation. You got to delete all the bake simulation. And all right, hang on, let's just, if you find it does this where it's still not working, just sort of move it slightly. All right, there you go. Now it interacts. All right, there you go. I hope I've solved a whole lot of people's problems. So cache, you can bake those keyframes. You can calculate. So if I, let's say it's over here, you can calculate 2 there. The other, okay, current cache to bake, all of these, bake all dynamics, the little bake, update to frame, blah, blah, blah. All of those things, pretty awesome. Okay, the next thing is, okay, so you can also bake to keyframes, by the way. Yes, that's it. Current cache to bake, calculate to frame. Yes, there is a way to, let's just see here, timeline, color, changing, yes, how much it bakes, etc. All right, I think we're going to get there at a certain point. Somebody's saying it's there, right? It's there. Calculate to frame. All right, well, let's see what this does. Calculate to frame. Right, let's just move right along. Okay, the other thing is, you might ask me, what is the difference between active and passive? So active is basically, let me start with passive. Passive is basically if you have any floors or walls, things that are passive, that don't move. Active is now something that you want moving with it. The other thing that I did in my previous tutorial was that you get this mass over here. Now, what I didn't know is that obviously, if you check out my previous tutorial, we play around with the mass. The mass really, it changes the way that your objects interact with each other, how fast they fall, etc. And you're actually able to calculate the mass. So what Blender does is it looks at the size of your object, the shape of it, etc., 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 and then it calculates the mass for you. And you can do that if you access. So I'm guessing it's over here, Rigidbody, and there you go. You can calculate mass. So I can click calculate mass, and then what you can do is you can specify to what kind of object it is. Is it bronze? Is it brass? Is it a brick? Is it a piece of bark? Can you believe it? Is it ice? Is it iron? Is it lead? Etc. And it'll take all of that into calculation for you. Pretty awesome, mate. Didn't know that, did you? Okay. The next thing is that, which I think I did talk about last time, is this dynamic switch over here. This basically switches the physics on and off for the object. So I press play, right? Great. Okay, so it works. I turn the dynamics off, I press play, it doesn't move. Why would I do that? Well, because e.g. I can keyframe this dynamics. If I only want this guy falling, let's say at frame 80, right? I can go to frame 79. I can press I while my mouse is over dynamic, keyframes it, see there? I can move to frame 80. First you need to tick it, then you need to keyframe it. So that means that object is only going to fall at frame 80. All right, cool. Boom, go. And there you go. All right, now that's cool. In my last tutorial, I had bricks, and those bricks started interacting from the beginning. So something like this will help. The bricks will keep still, and then when the ball is much closer to those bricks, the ball is knocking over the wall of bricks, or it is whatever, a hammer or a wrecking ball falling through bricks, you can turn the dynamics on and off so that those bricks don't move. All right, we worked in my last tutorial with animated. So what animated basically does is, when you turn animation on, it ignores gravity. It ignores gravity. It doesn't fall by itself. You use animated when you're driving the object yourself. All right, it will still interact with all the other physics objects, so that's why you want to keep it on there. So e.g. in my last tutorial, I had a spoon, and the spoon had a ball in it. Now I animated the spoon to flip, and the ball just sat inside. So the spoon I made animated, but it still interacted with the ball. All right, so that's what you can do with that. that's basically what animation does, right? So already we've spoken about collisions, the different shapes. So basically, yes, please go check that out. I'm not going to go through it again. Convex Hall will work well on this. But if you've got an object that where the shape is different, and say for example that spoon, I needed to use something like mesh. All right, and then moving on to surface response. So your friction and your bounciness. Now, in my last tutorial, I was a bit confused with the friction. You had to put it on, on the object that you are. So, e.g., bounciness. If I wanted to make these cubes bounce a bit more, in my last tutorial, I said that you need to apply it onto both because it's almost like a handshake. You can't just apply it on one. So, e.g., now I put it on right now I put it on my cube and the floor together, and you can see there's a bit more of a bounciness to it. So what I got was that, by the way, whatever number you put it on object A, your passive and your active, or on the two objects, they basically times each other. So you put it on 1 times 1, right, is 1 times 2. Right now you start getting a more mathematical, because if you put 0 on the 1, then 1 times 0 is 0. Okay, 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times 2 is 2. All right, and so forth. So that's how it works. It's basically multiplication. There's maths in everything, so you can understand. Right, the next thing that we're going to look at here is sensitivity. And basically sensitivity is, okay, I didn't pay attention to that. By the way, apparently you can look this up on your online menu. So if you don't understand anything, well, now there's something I just learned. I can right click and I can say online menu, and what I noticed what this guy did a lot is that he did this. Whenever you didn't understand something, he would open an online menu, and guess what happens? It opens to exactly where you need to be. Pretty cool, eh? I find that really awesome. Blender, you guys are awesome. Thank you very much for that. The next thing, collections. All right, e.g., I can, what collections basically does is that I can have certain objects only collide with certain other objects. All right, that's what I do here. So I'll have this over here on number 2 with this guy, number 2, and I'll keep this one. Let's see, my collections are number 1, and this guy I will put on number 1 as well. And that's now basically how you keep, so you can see there how certain objects only collide with other ones. Pretty awesome. I'm sure those are for those very specified custom rigid body setups. Pretty awesome, hey? All right, the next thing is dynamics. So what dynamics basically does is, if I want, you get damping translation, so your movement, and damping rotation. If I want this specific object to resist gravity a bit more, so e.g., let me show you. If I have a leaf, for example, busy floating down, I can advance, I can pick up the damping, and okay, hang on, let's just get this guy to move. Okay, he's not moving. He's not moving. We got a dead cube here. All right, I can pick this up, and what that will do is that will almost, can you see how it's moving slower? So if you have like a floating leaf or whatever, and then rotation, the same thing. If my object is rotating, but it's rotating too fast, I want it, towards gravity, I want it to just dampen a bit more. That's what your rotation is there for. Okay, now this is a really, really cool guy. The reason why I say that is because, oh yes, of course, that one's not moving because I keyframed it. Let me show you this, guys. So damping, was it damping? Deactivate. So what deactivate basically does is that I am saying I only want that object to move, basically for the physics to move only once another object hits it. All right, so deactivate. All right, I'm not sure. Okay, velocity, linear, angular. I think that just now how hard it gets hit. All right, so hang on. Let me think I need to click start deactivate. Let's see. There you go. Bah. All right. Very cool, hey? Very cool. Okay, so only starts physics when another object collides with it. Okay, cool. So the next thing that I'm going to show you is basically apply transformation, right? So there's this cool, all of this is out of this this menu over here. So I'm going to show you apply transformation. I'm going to show you baked keyframes, and the last one is connect. So very quickly. So what's cool is, let's say I am trying to get a position of something out of simulation, right? So boom. Okay, no, that's where I want to stop. I can take this guy. I can say right click, not right click. I can go into my rigid body settings. I can say apply transformation, and what that basically does is it freezes there. Freezes it. You can see it's gotten. Okay, I suppose rigid body is still there, but yeah, that's it. I've now. Oh, look at that! How cool is that? Okay, so anyway, yeah, I've applied that position to it, and you can see, yes, it's still got the rigid body on it, as we've discovered. So yeah, all right, cool. The last thing that I'm going to show you now, I just want to check. Okay, great. It's actually, you can't undo that, so it's stuck there forever. Right. The other thing is back to keyframe. So let's say I now want to take the simulation, and I want to. What I'm able to do is actually, let's say I'm happy with the animation now. I'm happy with the simulation. Looks real, looks great. I don't have to keep it within the simulation form. I can literally queue for quick menu, and I can say back to keyframes. Look at that, start frame, end frame. I'm gonna make this 150. There's even my frame steps. Press OK. And there's my keyframes. How wonderful is that? That should make things a lot more simpler and a lot better. So it's not actually working on the rigid body anymore. It's literally just working with keyframes. Pretty cool, huh? All right, once you're done with look at that. And once you do that, it kills your rigid body effects. All right, I've undone. That then brings it back, yes, to the simulation, because what I want to show you next, which is pretty cool. All right. So I spoke about the parenting option. If I want to parent these two together, now I want to show you something really, really cool. If I want to connect these guys together for whatever reason, whatever simulation you're doing, right? Yeah, look at that. Nope, my keyframes are still in place. Okay, I didn't save this Blender file, so let's just reopen it. Great, there you go. Okay. Now to continue, let's say I want these two guys to be connected together for whatever reason. In other words, they can basically simulate together. I think once I show you this, I think you're going to understand exactly what I'm talking about. So I'm going to select this guy, my quick menu, and I'm going to say connect. It's going to give you an extra menu. Let me just look for it quickly. Oh, I know where it is. It's under constraints. It's not under constraints. Anyway, it's connect. Okay, let me select there. Where's this constraints menu? There you go. There it is. So you'll see what it does is it's created an empty. If you don't know what an empty is, that's an empty. It's literally nothing, but you're able to constrain things to it, and it's connected them together. Now watch what happens. Okay. Now take note. I select here. It's on type of constraint fixed. Ooh, look at that. So you've seen already how this guy's reacted connected to this guy. Okay, pretty cool. So that's what constraint does. Yeah, so let's that's how you connect them up together. Works really well. You want to check all the other guys out over here and what they do. So yeah, that's basically Rigidbodies advanced. I think what I have shown you guys today is extremely valuable. Especially when you're coming when it comes to building custom simulations, you're doing specific things. So next week, I promise you, we will be looking at fracturing objects. So we'll make something and then we'll fracture it, and I'll show you exactly how to do that, because it's not just that simple. There's object replacement, there's all sorts of stuff involved, but we've got a good overview of the rigid body. Go ahead, and something that I love doing, which I've spoken about before, is I love learning something and then I love advancing. So example, I've learned now rigid body, and okay, cool, wow, that's rigid body. Now what if I do this, and then I use my creativity and I'll see how rigid body, and sometimes it doesn't always work out, and then what you do is you go and you do research and you make it work for you, and you've learned a bit further than what you've just been taught. You've now taken it a bit further, you've learned a bit more about that. All right, so guys, until next week, I will check you next week with Blender tutorials. With fracturing, we're going to be smashing stuff. All right, see you guys next week. Cheers.